All right, good morning. Welcome back here to Trader Minute. Great to have you aboard. I want to go talk a couple trade setups here. Overall, as Carl mentioned today, market. There's no catalyst descended either way, so there's not a whole lot that's moving. There are a few things that are moving that have some small catalysts to move one way or another. But in general, most of the price action you really can't take much out of it. Okay, case in point. All right, case in point, Capital One. All right, COF. Up about 6 cents. It was down about 20 cents. It was up about 20 cents. It's just there's nothing going on here. There's nothing out there to make Capital One move at all. So it's just pretty much dying flat at low volume. We're still keeping an eye on the 70 mark. We break 70, we'll pull out. We'll pull out of Capital One. At this point, we're pretty much going to look for, hey, if it closes above 70, we'll pull it out. It won't be something that kind of during the day, if it starts to tick up above 70 by a few pennies, because of the light volume, we'll continue to hold it, see where that closes. And as long as it closes below 70, run with it. Okay. Tesoro, a lot of chats here about Tesoro this morning, up about a buck 82. Continues on higher. A lot of positive catalyst here for this group. The biggest being the crack spreads. Basically, when you're a refiner, you have to buy oil and you turn it into gasoline. So if the price of gasoline goes up and the price of oil goes down, hey, that's great for your business model, right? One of the reasons why oil's been tumbling since May is because these crack spreads have been deteriorating and the price of oil's been going up. But recently, with the price of oil, the price of oil on an overall downward slide, that's benefiting Tesoro. And here's UGA. Okay, this is the gasoline fund. So if you're not trading gasoline futures or something, you can see what's happening to gasoline over the last couple of days. The price of gas surging here, right? Oil's not going up that much, and so with gas going up, oil pretty much coming down. It's benefiting these refiners. Take a look at IOC. I mentioned IOC here today. Went up to 80. It's now down around 76. This is a really volatile one. Okay, it's a little lighter volume, so it's going to have big swings. But take a look at IOC. Let's see if I can zoom it in here. Carl's the expert on this. But take a look just back here with IOC on the big surge up. This is very common to see that something like IOC will basically come off of its highs, pull back, and then kind of run and fill some of the selling action. So today, to see this wherever it closes today, whether it be 76, 77, it will probably offer a really nice entry to play up into the 82, 83, 84 level as the coming weeks unfold. Another one in this group, Western Refining, you're going to see it doing the same type of action. Okay, WNR. Another one I put out, Phillips 66. Okay, this one's not going to be nearly as volatile as your Tesoros, as your Western Refinings, as your IOCs. It's not going to be nearly as volatile. But we're talking about a little flag and pennant pattern here. We had the nice little upsurge here in October, bullish consolidation here through November, now breaking out above 65. That bodes extremely well for Phillips 66. So, this is one of the few sectors, one of the few groups out there that actually has a positive catalyst to it. Okay. Now, when we look at some of the other groups out there, and we look at the market in general, in fact, I just have a 5-minute chart of the market futures. Okay, you can see where the market is in general. We've not gone back to last Thursday's highs. Okay, we had that selling last Thursday. Friday morning opened up weak, had a big rally, and we're basically at that exact same point. And so, with everything, the market's just not gone anywhere. Okay, it's just really not gone anywhere overall. There are a few things with some positive catalysts out there, but there are a few things that are showing some inherent weakness and some issues as far as not being able to really get any traction to the upside. Okay, do we short them? Okay, let's take a look at a few of them. Okay, and I talked Home Depot yesterday. Okay, something like Home Depot, and we mentioned this as a bottom picker play yesterday. But something like Home Depot, kind of breaking down, was underperforming, overly weak. Okay. Yes, it has all the short signals, but in this market, it's, do you trust them? Because even on a day where the market is negative, we're seeing Home Depot get a strong bounce on no volume. The dip buyers are looking at the points of weakness and jumping into them. So as someone looking for things on the short side, really tough to say, hey, you know what? Let's deal with some of these underperformers. Let's go after them. Which in normal markets, you can say, hey, you know what? Something that's been underperforming, we're going to have a great opportunity to run after that and go into trade that. Okay. Lowe's kind of the same thing, and so you know, even though they were underperforming, they have now made a big shift here to the other side. Some of that's coming off of some of the earnings here out of Dr. Horton DHI, which is kind of helping some of the home builders to bounce just slightly, but nothing really tradable here in that group. Okay. So, the refiners really the only major catalyst, only major movers out there. Everything else, you're talking about slight bleeds to the downside. And then if you're talking about, some upside reversals today, take a look at Apple. Opened up weak, is pushed back above the 523 level. Above 523 is pretty nice here for Apple for a short term upside play. Again, short term. Over the course of the last couple of weeks, we've been in a strong consolidation. But NASDAQ futures have been the biggest movers here today. As far as the NASDAQ was the weakest at the open, and now they're the strongest here. They've kind of had the biggest jump. So things like the Google have come off their low. Microsoft, Intel. In fact, you look at something like Microsoft, we're talking about a very strong bullish continuation pattern as it's retraced back to the 7-day moving average. Okay, so if you're looking for upside, I would look at it in tech and in these refiners. Okay, tech refiners, and if you're feeling gutsy, you're feeling aggressive, to look at it in the home builders. Okay, if you're looking for downside, I would still stick in the energy group, but not with the refiners. I'd look more at the oils. Some of the things like Chevron and Exxon, you're talking about things that have had some really nice runs, showing some potential topping signs. Very similar here on Exxon to what we saw back here in July. To see these pull back, fine. Overall, though, not a lot of bearish triggers out there. In fact, very few and far between from the bearish side. Okay. So as far as different trade setups, those are some of the things that we're seeing. Take a look at a couple stocks here. I've been asked about. Let's talk St. Jude. Okay, St. Jude had been, on its way, breaking up here above 58. Strong move. It's still in the upward channel. Okay, very, very nice upward channel. I'll zoom in here and we can draw that, maybe. I apologize, 1 second here. Okay, but we're still in this upward channel on St. Jude's, but we're coming down to the bottom of it, and with this candle pattern that's setting up, there's some potential that it breaks down here with St. Jude's. I mean, St. Jude's was a victim of this downgrade right back here. Just hasn't been able to gain any traction since. On the other side, ISRG, which has been weak, and we have some of these major gaps here on ISRG back here in July. Okay, some of these big gaps down. Then we get some support action building even after their earnings gap, and they've had some decent volumes as they started to roll back up to the upside and fill this gap here at 400. We get a little bit of consolidation here and a break of 400 to see this thing come back into the 430, 440 area is a very nice price target here for ISRG. All right, and then the other one's the heavy construction sector. And we talked about this sector yesterday. We talked about MDR, how it had this nice pop, this nice breakout, maybe a little overextended in the short term. It's getting a little bit of a pullback, but some of the others in its group, the FLRs and the Foster Wheelers, okay? The FLR is my favorite from an upside entry standpoint. And I look at this and I sit there and I go, all right, it would be really nice to see this consolidate till Friday, start to see it break out above 78. We'd get a very nice upside opportunity here in FLR if we saw that action. But I think it's still too early to step in and say, all right, let's run here with FLR. Okay, so for those of you that have asked about FLR, that's, still a little early in my book there. Okay. The last one here is Ford. Okay. Was emailed this morning. Was told that you've had Ford put options now for a week and a half. And after yesterday's candle is Ford potential to go higher. And it is. I mean, you have this little spinning candle. But overall, this morning's gap down just says, hey, you know what? This downtrend is more likely to continue. So as long as Ford stays below 17 at this point, I don't think there's any reason to back off of the short trade. In fact, I like the short trade on Ford better than some of the short setups in many of the other sectors that are out there. All right, so those are some of the setups. Real quick here, we kicked off Education Week yesterday with our first class. The recording of that class is up in the Options Education Week button above the chat feature here. And Carl will be on here in about 30 minutes for the second class with that. If something happens to COF during that time, we have to make a change or a shift, I will, we'll send out some notes. I'll be on chat and talking about that, but overall, the market we expected pretty tame and pretty quiet here. What do I think of Key with the bands tightening? Yeah, Key and KR, right? Here's KRE. This is the regional banking index. Had a big move Friday. We have little bit of a fundamental shift going here. KeyBank's kind of in that group. With the bands tightening, hitting that upper band, it's likely to be resistance for just a little bit, and that's what we're seeing as they pull back. I do think these regional banks go higher, but I question, okay, what's the pullback going to be like? Is this going to be a 1 to 2 day pullback before going higher, or is this going to be a 4 to 5 day pullback before going higher? So far, there's not been a sign that they're ready to move back higher. What would be that sign here on Key? Well, a close back above about 1310 would be a really, really nice kind of trend rider bull signal here for Key. But I would expect Key to kind of consolidate, come back here to 1275, dance around here 5, 6, 7 days before making that next push to the upside. That's kind of the same thing, Zion and the rest of these regional banks. Aaron, Facebook kind of having that reversal with the NASDAQ here, right? Today here at 46. This is a tough level here for Facebook. You do have a very toppy type of a pattern here on Facebook here. I don't like one of the things that happened with Facebook yesterday, and let me show it to you here on Thinkorswim. And what I'm doing is I'm coming into the 1 hour chart and I'm just pulling up their earnings. And you can see on their earnings they had this reaction high up to about 58. And then the next day they had a reaction low down here to 46.5. Okay, 46.5. Well, one of the things that Facebook did yesterday was it closed below this reaction low. And that's not a great sign for Facebook. Now today it's whipping back up and above, doing so on some decent volumes, whipping back above that 46.5. But I'd want to make sure that Facebook is set to close today above 46.5. Maybe even tomorrow trades above 46.5 to say, okay, we can trade Facebook into the $49, $50 level into options expiration. Okay. At this point, I'd almost rather be a buyer of Apple than Facebook. If I'm looking for that tech exposure, is kind of what I'd be looking for, and that kind of goes. We had talked about Yelp last week. I know some of you have been in the puts on those. Something like Yelp, yes, it's bouncing, but this is more of a relief rally that tends to happen before the next leg lower. And, with Facebook, I get a little concerned about that. It may rally for another day or two, but I'd want to see it hold 46.5. All right. Well, thanks for hopping on. I will be on chat here today. If you have any questions, let me know. Carl will be on video for Options Education Week. Here he'll be talking option basics today. What's a call, what's a put, long, short, the various terminologies for those of you interested. And then I'll be back on with you around 1 o'clock Eastern, and we'll talk about what's going on in the market and look at some plays here and answer a few more questions that show you some things that I've been asked to show. Thanks for hopping on, and we'll talk to you later. Take care.